the owner of this channel, and this is my older sister, Fishbone, who goes by many nicknames in my other videos, such as Sasquatch and Dragon. So today we'll be talking about the anime Demon Slayer.
Japanese name Kimetsu no Yaiba.
We just recently finished it, and
Well, the first season at least.
the first season, yeah.
And the movie.
And the movie.
Talk about the story.
Yeah. I think the plot is pretty well done compared to a lot of other shonen manga.
Yeah.
It's pretty well done and not like throwing in a bunch of random things. And I feel like it's not as much of the repetitive training and training and training. I feel like they have a bit more of the story so far.
Yeah. So the main character Tanjiro's family is murdered by a demon, and his sister is turned into one. And he begins his journey of trying to figure out how to turn her back to a human, and also trying to join the Demon Slayer Corps to help him encounter demons more often and find out how to get revenge for his family. I think it is pretty good the way that they're handling the story. They have this thing where I like it when a story does this, where you have you can tell that there's more to what's going on than just what the main characters see, and so you know that there's stuff happening behind the scenes. You're not quite sure what it is yet, but you have that mystery to help pull you forward.
Instead of not having that thing,
yeah.
you're just like clueless.
Yeah.
However, that is nice for shows like Little Busters.
Characters. So we have Tanjiro, who's the main character, who we already talked about. He's a very kind and caring person, but he is also not really afraid to get things done. He feels bad for the demons that he kills, but he is willing to kill them because of the horrible things that they've done. Then you have his little sister Nezuko, who is just the sweetest little girl that you could ever see, even though she's been turned into a demon. Yeah, there's not really much else that you can say about her, just because
You don't really get much of her.
well, she doesn't talk very much, but
Yeah, she doesn't talk.
yeah, overall it's just she's a very lovable character anyway.
I can't imagine anybody who wouldn't like her.
Then we have Zenitsu,
My favorite.
her favorite. I forgot to say that Tanjiro was mine.
Yeah.
Okay, Tanjiro is my favorite, but Zenitsu is a demon slayer who
Terrified of everything.
is terrified. He's a very cowardly demon slayer, but he is actually a very strong person who has the strength to kill the demons if he were actually to try, but he's too afraid to try. And then we have Inosuke. He grew up in the mountains with no parents and no siblings, and it really showed.
Inosuke is just one of those characters he's very like audacious and loud, and I feel like if you were to have a crush on him or something, you'd have to be a very specific type of person, like my other older sister.
About visuals now, the animation and everything. It's all pretty good. It's very well done.
It's so much better than the one show that we watched that was from 1991.
Of course it's going to be better than that.
I was just watching the Mugen Train, and I was just like, look at how good they've gotten with the animation.
Yeah, and they did.
So good.
It's all very
Flashy.
It's all very flashy, especially with the fights. They'll often have, when Tanjiro swings his sword, they do water. I'm not sure if that's just meant to be stylization or if there's I don't think there's actual
I don't think
water.
there's actual.
Patterns on everybody's clothes are very unique. So if you see something with the pattern for Nezuko's kimono on it, you're not going to mistake it for anything else.
Sad thing is I was trying to get a jacket of Zenitsu's jacket, and they got the pattern wrong, and I was like, I'm not gonna buy something with a wrong pattern on it.
Yeah, next thing would be the soundtrack.
It's a good soundtrack.
It's a very good soundtrack.
I like the, it's really hard to describe the singing.
Yeah, the vocals specifically. It's a very specific type of vocals that they like to add to the soundtrack. Of course it's a good soundtrack because you've got some very good composers behind it. You've got Yuki Kajiura, Go Shina. They're both very good. Yuki Kajiura's worked on a lot of stuff like Sword Art Online, Case Study of Vanitas, Madoka Magica.
That's because they do a lot of stuff we don't watch.
Yeah, she does a lot of.
But the soundtrack are great anyway.
Yeah, we listen to the soundtracks of these things anyway, just because they're so good. And then, gosh, there's not a lot that we've seen that he's done, but we've seen, there's Tales of Legendia. He did some music for Tales of Systeria. What else has he done music for?
I don't know. Don't ask me. I won't know.
I won't. Okay, never mind. But yeah, overall, it is definitely a very good soundtrack. So next thing, the most important thing for us, because we have such a good sibling relationship, we often love shows and movies or any story that has good sibling relationships in it. So, of course, we're gonna love this because of the relationship between Tanjiro and Nezuko. I almost cried during the first episode just because
it was a hard first episode.
It was a tough first episode. There's a couple other shows that have really hard first episodes, but yeah, that was. I think I Promised Neverland also had a very hard first episode.
Oh yeah, that was really hard.
Yeah. But yeah, it is a tough first episode. But it's the kind of first episode that pulls you in, gets you interested, and you're gonna watch the rest of the show. So let's talk about the violence then. So before watching it, I heard that it was very violent, which it is, but the level of violence was not it wasn't exactly as bad as I was expecting it to be. It's nowhere on the level of like
Attack on
Titan.
That was pretty violent, but then
even the manga of Attack on Titan was more violent than Demon Slayer.
Yeah.
And it's the kind of thing where it's violent but not as much gory. There is a little bit of gore, but I would say
it's mostly just you just see red if someone's limb gets
usually
caught.
Yeah. And it's the thing is though, if you go into something called Demon Slayer, and you specifically the Japanese word that they're using for the demons is Oni. So if you are heading into a show with that particular type of demon, it's going to be a little bit
more violent.
So yeah, the violence wasn't too bad though. But because of this violence, of course, we cannot recommend this show to young viewers. There is no way that you should be letting younger kids watch this show. So I would put the recommended age level at maybe 15, 16, depending on your kid though. It might be best to wait even longer because some kids had trouble with scary things and violence when they were young. Well, I wasn't the one who had as much trouble with the violence, but yeah. So yeah, some kids have trouble with these kinds of things,
and some kids have absolutely no trouble with violence.
Yes, so it's all depending on your kids. Usually, I don't know, for some reason I always think of boys as being more resilient to this kind of thing. So maybe a boy could watch it when he's younger, but and now let's talk about how to talk about this show when you have a very should I say strict or old-fashioned family? Sensitive family, yeah. So, obviously, not all our family is like this. Our dad doesn't really have a problem with anything we watch because he kind of trusts us, I think, in that area. But our mom probably would have had a problem with this if we had not managed to get her into anime like we've had. It was a very big success for us and very happy day when we managed to. We were going to pause watching Naruto, but she wanted to watch the next episode. So that was a very big day for us, and she's been hooked on anime ever since. So, yeah. But our grandmother, not so much. So we're trying to be very careful around her because it's very a Christian upbringing, strict. We're Christians too, but it's like
It's not as
it's not as strict
because we can understand the culture a
because
bit better.
we're trying to understand the culture. We understand that demon is a mistranslation of the word. We don't really have an English equivalent of the word, so we understand that, but our grandmother does not. She had a hard enough time dealing with, my sister cosplayed someone that was a reaper, which in Japanese it's, shinigami, but, the English word that they used to translate it was reaper, so we called her that in front of our grandmother, and she was really upset by that, and because, I'm not sure why, but, so, obviously, there's no way we're going to say demon slayer or demon, we're not going to talk about this in front of her, so, our solution is, we're going to call it rice ball, and the reason for this is, because of Japanese homophones, which the word for rice ball, onigiri, is the same for the word, or it's a pair of words for killing demons, which is onigiri. So it's the same thing. So we call it rice ball. I'd say that's about it. That's about all we have to say about this.
So go watch the show.
Yes, go watch the show if you are old enough.